What's up everyone, Lance Hedrick here, and today I'm going to talk about why I'm so excited about this machine. No, this is not a new machine to the market, but it is somewhat new to me in the sense that I've not really taken it seriously until I got one just a few months ago. And since then, I have been absolutely riveted with the potential it has within. Now, normally on this channel, I don't really talk about electronic machines that are below that $250 price point, $280 with that Hybrew H10, with the base Breville Bambino, and then I really focus on like the GAJO Classic Pro as being that budget end game type of machine. But this machine, which normally sits around 120, but was recently down as low as 86 US dollars, which is what I bought it at, is actually a fantastic little machine. So the goal of the video today is to review this machine, discuss why I'm so excited about it, and to show you how to make incredible espresso on it. Yes, it is possible even with a machine of this caliber. So often I see people complaining they need to improve their espresso machine because they can't get what a La Marzocco Linea Mini gets. But I can tell you right here and right now, I can pull you a shot of espresso that tastes just as good as a La Marzocco Linea Mini on a machine just like this. And as Bruno Mars says, don't believe me? Just watch. Because I never really took this machine seriously due to its price point and the fact that other Delonghis are okay but aren't anything to really write home about, I just assumed it would be a thermoblock. But no, there's a stainless steel boiler inside this machine, which is a huge positive. So often you get something like the GAJO Classic Pro, which historically has held aluminum boilers, or you can get those big clunky brass boilers. But to be honest with you, I prefer stainless steel, so having kind of the end goal boiler in this machine is pretty incredible. In addition to that, the fact that Delonghi has been around for so long and are such a massive company, they're not going anywhere anytime soon, so the parts for these machines are pretty easy to come by, and it's simply built. There's not much going on in this machine beyond the boiler and the pump. There's no solenoid, there's no intense electronics, there's just a handful of wires inside. It's very easy. I'll show you what that looks like at the end. And as a brief excursus, I will be doing a video soon on lessening the intimidation of opening up a machine to service it. Buy used machines, redo them yourself, and you have a really cheap, nice machine at home, whether it's a used GAJO Classic Pro, Rancilio Silvia, or even a used Delonghi Stilosa, because these can absolutely be salvaged with no sweat off your brow. Now, of course, it comes with pretty low quality accessories. For instance, the portafilter is really cheaply made. They have a plastic lining inside, which is easy enough to get rid of if you don't want it pulled through plastic, but then you're going to be pulling through aluminum. So it's like, you know, lose-lose type of situation. And it's just clunky, and the espresso has it drops down, so you're losing crema if that's a big part of what you're wanting. And it's no fun. And it comes with pressurized baskets. It has this plastic bit on the bottom with a spring inside and a bit that is, when enough pressure hits it, it opens it up to allow kind of a faux crema to generate and to come out. And so it's not that great. Very easy to depressurize these, but they make it because they assume most people using it are either using like a blade grinder, if they're using whole bean, or it's pre-ground coffee. So all you need to do in order to take this off is you just loosen this down here, and then you have to just pop this right on out. So you push that out, and then we have this bad boy. We're gonna pull out our screen here, which is kind of like the bottom of the basket essentially. You put it right back into this gasket, and you have essentially depressurized your portafilter. So once that's all good, you shove it back into your basket, and now you have a depressurized portafilter. I mean, what do you expect? A stainless steel tamper? No. You're getting this fun little plastic scoop / tamp combo. A lot of fun. You definitely can fight off intruders in your house with this. Give them little blunt bruises, okay? Now, I've already shown you on a previous video how to steam with Panarello. This is no real difference. In fact, it has a higher steam pressure than that one I showed you on, so it's even easier. But I've already switched out to the Rancilio steam wand, which is right here. Very easy switch to make, but we're not really going to focus on steaming today because I've shown you how to do the Panarello. So that's not the big focus here. It's the espresso making capability of this. Just know that foam is very easy to make. Once you put it in steam mode, it pressurizes quite nicely with that hefty boiler inside. So in today's video, I'll be pulling espresso using this machine completely stock. I'll be even using the plastic little portafilter. I'm using this really cheap machine that was shipped to me, now has variable RPM because I did modify it with a router controller inside to kind of route some of the power away. It's kind of like a dimmer modification, I guess. So whenever I turn it on, I can turn the speed up or turn it down. Honestly, a Baratza Encore ESP is going to be better than this, which I know a lot of people have that, as well as the fellow Opus and other grinders. And then I have a $10 scale right here, the Waitman, that I absolutely love. It's the best cheap scale on the market, in my opinion. I'm sure you already know how this works because it's very simple, but we'll just do a quick overview. On the side, you have a spring-loaded on-off switch. You click it on, and bada bing, bada boom, the light comes on. Once the boiler is at temperature, the OK light will hit on. Then you just twist this little knob to the side and the pump starts to push water out of the group head. If you want to heat up the boiler in order to get steam, you just go to the left side and it's going to make the heating element heat up even more so than it would for brew water to really get it up to temp, to pressurize the boiler in order to give you that nice steam pressure. Then right here we have just a little toggle for the steam wand. It's very cheap, plasticky feeling, but it does the job. You just go down for steam, you go up to turn it off. And that's about it. Then when you open the back, you have the water tank, which is, you know, a decent size. I need to actually fill it up. It does the job, and it heats up really rapidly because the boiler, although it is stainless steel, heats up quite rapidly because it's not the biggest thing ever. Then you have a nice little area back here. You can store one of your excess baskets or something along those lines. I do wish the shower screen could be a bit bigger. I'm not actually familiar with things that you could replace it with that would actually improve it very much. A very simple thing to do to really help the water dispersion is to put a little, puck screen on top. I have this one from EMB or IMS that you can just put right on top of your puck, and it's going to help distribute the water a bit more. It even has this fun little magnet on it. Now, I don't have a SCASE device or some sort of device that's made to measure temperature on this machine, so instead, I'm just going to kind of jerry-rig my own. I'm going to shove a thermocouple right through the bottom of this split shot. There's a little slot here underneath the basket. I'm going to try to get the probe inside of there, and then we'll just put the basket right back in. It's not going to be a perfect showcasing of what the temperature is. We would need something like a silicone insert, like on the SCASE device, that can emulate a puck in order to really get a more decent reading, something like this. So right now, inside the probe is experiencing about 75 degrees, so we'll turn this on and see where it goes. There's also not going to be pressure achieved because I don't have anything to put pressure on it, which is going to slow down the flow, which might help heat things up further. But even still, I think if we're getting a reading of like 85 or so, that's probably going to translate to something around 90 or so degrees. All right, and it's going back down 90, 89. And this is probably because we're draining a lot of that boiler out, and so fresh water's going in and making the temperature dip. I actually really like that it's dipping, though, personally. All right, so the light came back on. We'll do one more, and we'll see where it goes. So pretty immediately it shoots up to 90-ish. There we go, 92, 93. And then we start to come back down. 87, 86. And there we have it. As we run through what's in that boiler and it's refilling, obviously the temperature is going to go down some. But there we have it, 80. And it's just going to keep dipping as we go through what's heated up. Obviously, we can only get out what's heated up considering the small boiler. There you go. Obviously, it's not going to be as intensely granular as something with PID controller, or as precise, I should say, but I don't really believe that you need such precision. If you have something that's going to be within 1 to 2 degrees every shot, I think that's great. And I think even more important than the initial temp is the fact that it does cascade. I love cascading temperatures. I think that is a great thing for regardless of your roast level, is to be able to do something like that. Now, of course, you could temperature surf it in order to get a lower temperature if you're doing darker roasted coffees. Very easy. Just run some of the water out until the light goes off and immediately pull your shot. And you're going to have about 85 degrees or so pulling that way. If you want to get hotter, you can always turn the steam wand on for a couple of seconds, maybe 5 seconds, 8 seconds, and then turn it back off and then start your shot. And because that heating element is going to essentially ignore the original pressure stat for the boiler when it's in brew mode, it's ignoring it and going hotter. The water will be hotter, but you can also get in excess of 100 degrees. So, be careful when you're doing that. Just, pay attention to the taste, I guess. If it's too harsh and acrid, lower the temp. We're going to just put a scale underneath here. So let's see. And we're going to measure the amount of water that comes out in 10 seconds. Then we just divide it by 10, and bada bing, bada boom, you have your grams per second. Now there was steam because I had that steam wand element on for a second. All right. So in 10 seconds, we had 42 grams. So that means we're probably around a 4.5 grams a second water debit, which is not that high. It's also what you would expect from a cheaper vibratory pump that is found in here. This one is from the Smeg machine. So cold water goes in. Since this has the capability of 15 bar, it's pushing out at 15 bar at that 4.5 grams a second, and then it goes through the boiler, the pressure is maintained, comes out. Of course, the pressure is only created by resistance times the flow rate. What comes out of the puck doesn't necessarily have to be in 15 bar. So I wouldn't worry about the pressure being too high. You can still make incredible shots with a machine like this. You can put a cup under here, and during the shot, if you want to slow down the flow rate, you just open up the steam lever, and it's going to siphon some of the water that would go out of the group out through the steam wand to give you what's called poor man's PreInfusion if you don't want as heavy a water coming out. That doesn't really bother me. I would rather use the killing the pump type of technique and putting it back on, but you do you. If you have a blade grinder, you're not going to be able to replicate my results. If you're using pre-ground, you won't be able to replicate my results. You need a decent grinder, but you can get a very cheap king grinder hand grinder for like 35 bucks. Granted, I know people don't like hand grinding, but that is a possibility. All right, we've got the coffee in here loaded, tamped with that awful tamper, and it was not a fun experience, but we're going to get going right now. Now, one of the cool things about this is because it doesn't have a solenoid, yes, you have to worry about it being pressurized when you pull it out, but you can turn it off here at the beginning of the shot and give it a nice blooming period, kind of like in a pour-over. So we're letting it bloom as that puck is fully saturated. You can bloom it 10 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever you might want to do. But then once you're ready, you just turn the pump back on. Now you can do this with no solenoid because it's not depressurizing that group. Once you depressurize the group, you're going to cause a lot of channels to be introduced. Now don't worry about liquid coming out of one side. That's not an indicative of anything bad with our extraction. That is just because water's going to fall one way or another. So there we have our shot. A nice blooming shot with a good bit of crema on that. Pulled with the stock Delonghi. No difference. Cheap, cheap, cheap grinder. There we have it. And it's a solid shot. Can it be better? Yes. My claim earlier about being able to pull shots as good as multiple $1,000 machines with this, assuming a flat 9-bar profile, is the fact that you can upgrade some of the things on here to make it a bit better. Now, the main thing I would recommend upgrading would be the basket on here, and immediately you'll have a better experience. Normcore makes a kind of quote-unquote high extraction basket you can use, which is solid, but I just like using the more traditional IMS basket, so we'll go ahead and place that in, and we're good to go there. And then also you can get, a nicer tamper. You can get like this one from Neouza. I think it's also Ikapa in other parts of the world, but it's a nice self-leveling tamper that's quite rigid, which I enjoy. You could also do the Normcore. I don't like as much. It's a bit more wobbly and a bit more fiddly, but this one is pretty nice. And then I'm also, just to help with the water distribution, I am going to toss a screen on top. Getting a mesh screen is not that expensive. You can get them for like $7 or something, and they'll last you a long time. Cleaning them's a bit of a pain, but just toss it under the steam wand in some water with some Kafiza and you're good to go. I just am using this because having a nice magnet on camera is fun. These are things that you can collect over time in order to improve your machine. The biggest issue out there are people who have upgrade-itis. They think, oh, my espresso's not great, I need to buy a whole new machine. And I do want to point out right now that I do have a friend of mine that I know, Justin Bouchard, has actually done the GAJO modification to this machine. He had to rewrite some of the code in one of the earlier versions when it was more of an open source type of situation, but he did get it to work, and I saw someone else on Reddit successfully installed the GAJO modification on theirs as well. So anyway, let's go ahead and get another shot ready. With this bigger basket, I can actually do 17 to 18 gram shots, which is awesome. So you can get a much deeper puck, and it really amplifies your experience. And this depth, this aspect ratio is just not really attainable unless you're doing 25 plus gram baskets on a 58 millimeter machine. So you're doing massive doses, which is just a ton of coffee. gonna bloom it again. Just a few seconds. And then restart that shot. And here we go. And look at that coming out. You kidding me? And then because there's no solenoid, it will have to depressurize on its own. So if you want to stop it at a certain weight, you just have to move it. But look at that. And that's really nice. Now, some of you may be like, but Lance, you're pulling dark roast on there to make the crema look all voluptuous and tasty. Like, that's easy to do, but can you pull a nice light roast on it? Yes, I can. Now for this, I'm going to pull a bit bigger shot. I have 18 grams in, but I'm going to pull 54 grams out to give me a nice 1-to-3 ratio. But let's go ahead and start it. Of course, it's going to vibrate. We have a vibratory pump. That's not unexpected. I purposely went with a faster shot. I find faster shots taste better with lighter roasted coffees. But here we go. And then when it hits 54, I'm pulling it out because it's going to keep dripping. It's a washed Kenya, super lightly roasted. So let's go ahead and take a sip of that. That was not nearly fine enough with a 4 grams per second flow rate in order to achieve 15 bar. You would need a higher flow rate in order to do that. So we probably topped out around 9 bar, 8 bar before it started to cascade. Because at the end, our flow rate was definitely around 4, maybe 3 grams a second, which is probably making our shot pressure go way down. Wow, that's really good. To end the video, I'm going to briefly open the machine, and we're going to take a look just so you aren't as scared of opening machines, to take a look and show you that it's a very simple machine. The lid, obviously, is connected to the machine by these wires, and it's because this is where we have the light. So there's an LED back here. There's actually 2 LEDs plugged in. One here and one here. They both have piggybacking wires to the control here. This is what kind of controls the heating elements. Inside the boiler, it controls the pressure stat and the lights, so as well as, you know, turning on and off the machine. Now, because a lot of these are the same color cords, I would take a picture or even a video so you know which cord goes where exactly. I wish they were able to put like brass fitting or something in here in order to get the steam from the boiler over to the steam wand. Instead, they have this plastic tube that is heat resistant, but you know, that's a bit of a shame. I understand it, but other than that, only cold water is going through this plastic. It's entered into the machine there. That's where it heats up, and then it goes straight out of the group head. So it is a saturated group head in the sense that the boiler is connected to the group head. So that's why you get some really nice thermal stability. This is the valve for the steam wand. It is plastic, so that's something that maybe in the future you'd have to replace, but it's just right there, pretty easy to access. If you need to pull the boiler out, the screws are right there, and they're self-explanatory. You have an Allen wrench here to take the top part of the boiler off, so it's very, very simple. Then in the back, you have the vibratory pump, which is a bit more difficult to actually get to and take out, though it's very easy to see if there's a minor fix that you can kind of fit in here to do. But that's where the water is pulled in from the bottom down here where the water tank is. It's sucked down through a tube under the back, up through the pump, and then it goes through the tubing. And that's where it enters the boiler, and bada bing, bada boom, it's good to go. And it comes with all the wires kind of clamped together, which keeps it really nice and tidy. Not enough machines do that, I have found, but that stainless steel boiler is definitely the star of the show. And the pump, which is a typical Olka pump, nice quality, that is what makes your espresso machine. It's a pressurized water kettle. So you definitely want something of good quality for that water kettle part. The pump, also just super cheap off the shelf that you can get to replace in 10 years if it goes out. But I have a machine I recently restored from the 70s, and the pump is still running strong, and it's an old Olka. Please don't be scared to open your machine up as long as your mains is not connected, okay? Don't be stupid. And then put it back. You just got to situate it right back there. Put the screws back in. Put the steam wand arm back on. You're done. For the price point, it is a very, very impressive machine. It doesn't mean it's a perfect machine. It doesn't mean there won't be a learning curve. It doesn't mean that it's going to come with no flaws whatsoever. In fact, mine came with an airlock in the pump, but it's very easy to fix. You just add water to this, you turn it on, you open up the steam wand as the pump is going, and it'll clear itself out. But these are all things, I just use ChatGPT, which means it's been recorded somewhere on the internet. I found the solution, boom, airlock, bye-bye. Well, anyway, that is it from me. I just really wanted to show you kind of not only the Delonghi Stilosa, but to empower those of you with cheaper machines. You can get great coffee. Don't let snobs online tell you otherwise. You don't need to upgrade to get good crema or to get a good shot of espresso. Even if you switch from dark to light and you think your machine's optimized for dark, it can do light. You just have to fiddle around with it and learn the ins and outs of your machine. And please do not be scared of repairing your own machines. Don't let these machines go to landfills. They're, especially a machine like this that has good internals, you can do the repairs yourself. It's not a big deal. Just, I guess you can wait till my next video where we go more in depth. But I hope that this was helpful for you, especially those of you that got this machine over the holiday season, or if you just have a cheaper machine and you feel like you can't make good coffee. I've made another video with a $79 machine, made great coffee and a great latte art. So spend your money on beans, spend less on the machine. Beans, not machines. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't yet, please hit the like and subscribe. It all really helps me a ton. But that's it for me today. I hope that you brew something tasty today. And cheers.